Hello, hello, beautiful soul. Today's live on the solar eclipse in Aries. This one I'm excited about because the solar eclipse is always going to be telling us what we're going to be focusing on for the next 6 months as far as what's moving forward, what we're manifesting, what we're bringing into being, what we're visualizing, what we're marching forth, going forth out into the world to do. And I personally do love Aries season. It's always that spring. It's always that it has that new beginning feeling. So let me know in a comment below, right? Because as of the time of this video, we are in between eclipses. So I'm going to give you a couple reminders about eclipses. I'm going to tell you about my sale I have going on right now. And then we're going to do the solar eclipse in Aries readings for all signs of the zodiac, starting with Aries going through to Pisces. If you are jumping on before timestamps are added and the live has already passed, well, then I have now started adding the caption that looks like this to when we're doing the chart. So you can see whatever name it is what chart we're on, so you can more easily find them. So, first of all, eclipses, don't be all scared of eclipses, okay? So, eclipses are one of the things I notice people get freaked out about. I've gotten freaked out about when I see one on me. I'm like, but like, I mean, right now, we just had that lunar eclipse in Virgo, and that was conjunct my ascendant, and I'm here just fine, maybe meditating more lately, being more like that south node. So, just knowing that it's not always the worst. Sometimes we think the worst, it's not always the worst. And so don't be all scared of eclipses. While I do think that the astrological alignment should be treated with reverence and respect, and that astrology is real and that it's observable. At the same time, we don't want to like project negativity onto stuff when it's just another 6 month cycle, like all the cycles, right? And there's going to be good times and there's going to be bad times, but regardless, when we understand the energy, we can do better to work with whatever time we're in, right? So that's kind of the whole point, in my opinion. All right, so let me check the chat here. Hello, Edgar. Sending you love right back to Mexico. Okay, so like I said, we are here. We're going through the solar eclipse in Aries and what it means for all signs of the zodiac. But first, I have a sale. And so I want to tell you guys about this reading sale. It's basically 50% off Zoom readings with me. And that sale lasts through the 29th. I have opened up my schedule for April, so you can book next month. The bookings are open, and I recommend getting these sooner if you want to, just because they do fill up quickly. And, especially the more like there's a couple of Saturdays I have open, those spots fill up really quickly. So, especially if you're in another time zone, I recommend checking that out right away. And so, yeah, that is going on. Now, let's get into talking about the eclipse. Just general energies on this eclipse. We have the sun and the moon at 8 degrees of Aries here, and Mars in Cancer. And so, a lot of the eclipse is going to be us wanting to start new things, wanting to initiate, just in general, eclipses in Aries. Aries energy is about decisiveness, going after what we want. And with Mars in Cancer, it's like going after what we want based on what is going to fulfill our emotional needs, make us feel comfortable, make us feel okay, protect our loved ones and our home and our security. And we have some good and challenging things about this eclipse. We have the ruler of the eclipse being square the eclipse is not really the greatest sign, but we have Venus making a trine to Mars. So it's like we have, just like everything in life, we have some good and we have some bad, right? And then we have, what else do we have? Jupiter it makes a sign-based sextile to the eclipse. So it's like we really do get a mix of both energies. And so I think that this next 6 months collectively is going to be about us working through the issues. Like it'll be about like overcoming challenges and having something to help us and support us in overcoming it. Mars trining Venus is charismatic and magnetic. Doesn't mean we're all going to become magnetic. No, not necessarily, but just the push and pull and the dynamic force of life, that's highlighted. And you know, even just today coming into this reading, I just feel so much more energized. And I know you guys aren't all like dependent upon my feelings, but sometimes I think when I pick up on stuff before a reading, maybe it's for me to share. And the things that have been coming up for me lately are just like life is here to be lived, so let's live it. The problems are there, so let's overcome them. You know, it's kind of like the runner in the race and the hurdle. And it's like, are we going to see that 10 miles ahead of the race we're running, there's going to be a hurdle? So why even start if we can't know already what it's going to be? That's the eclipse, South Node eclipse in lunar eclipse in Virgo. Letting go of the need to have all the steps lined out before we even try, right? And Aries is about acting first and thinking about it later, right? And that's one of the beautiful things of Aries energy is if you know an Aries, you know they are not holding back. They're not going to be holding back on you. You can trust that energy to a degree, even if it's harsh, even if it's, you know, an unpleasant truth or whatever, it still is not going to hold back. And that's the beauty of Aries energy, is that we can step into this ability to just go forth in the world and create and accomplish and live life how it's supposed to be lived, messy and imperfectly. All right, so I do want to check something really quickly, and then we will keep going. So yeah, let me know if you're here live. Let me know if you are feeling the energy of these eclipses and how it's going for you. Okay, so we are good to go. And we're going to go ahead and start on the actual readings here. So we're going to go to Aries. Let me get it up here on the chart. And I think actually, let me fix this here because I want it to... that's fine. Yeah, okay, so I got to get the chart to Aries. So one of the things is that it's 8 degrees of Aries, but when I move it to go over your sign, it will look like it's a different degree. Don't hate me for that. Okay, so we are on the solar eclipse in Aries for Aries. And so this is going to be anytime you have an eclipse in your sign, it's like, you know, new year, new you kind of a vibe. The first house eclipses, even though the first house rules the body, it's kind of like your personality, your life theme, your life direction when it's transits. Sometimes it can be your physical body, but oftentimes it's like what you in the flesh are doing. And that's like where you live, who you're with, all those life defining characteristics, right? What your job is, what your role is. Even though we can see all those topics separately in different places in the chart, the first house still is going to tell us about that. And so, basically what that means for Aries is like new beginnings, maybe initiating something in the next 6 months that's about putting your life direction going the way you want it to go, and like really focusing in on what you want to do with your life. And that can be regardless of whether you're single or in a relationship too. Just because it's opposite the 7th house doesn't mean you're going to leave your partner and go do what you want. It could be learning how to assert yourself within the relationships you're in, or something, or you and your partner together are initiating a new thing in your lives together. Especially with Mars in the 4th, there's going to be a focus for Aries in the next 6 months on home. And it might be some psychological stuff going on where you're breaking away from family of origin values because it's like the fourth house is like your emotional foundation, but it's somewhat like how you were raised. And when there are planets in the first house, they naturally square that fourth house. And so that's going to reflect how your individuality is different from or at cross purposes to, or requires adjustments from the beliefs, the attitudes, the values of your family of origin. And so that's what I feel for this is like for Aries, it's going to be about where are you breaking free from what you were raised to believe, or where are you now going back to what you were raised to believe when maybe for a certain amount of time you weren't doing that. Okay, so it's like an adjustment period. And then, excuse me, also, let's talk about what good things Venus might be helping Mars with. To me, another aspect for Aries for this next 6 months. Now, for Aries out there who are like, you're planning on moving, renovating, changing roommate situations, moving in with a partner, moving out of somewhere, getting your own place, that would be highly likely, like even a positive leave, a positive exit from a certain living situation to one that is more about your own comfort, one that has more security, one that has more like of what you want in life or things that would make you feel comfortable, down to the littlest things. Like maybe you live with people who use, I don't know, like chemicals, and you're like, I just want to use essential oils and have my own place. It can be anything like that. But then Venus here in the 12th can help. Okay, so Venus is offering help and ease to Mars in the fourth. So the goals we're setting in the next 6 months related to home, family, relationships are supported by what? By private time with a partner. So for some Aries, maybe it is really the story of moving into your own place so you can have more privacy with a partner, or changing something about your living situation so you're able to enjoy yourself more when you're by yourself. Something about the private aspect of it is more enjoyable to you. That could be because, I don't know, you move out and you can't hear the neighbors anymore and you just can blare your music as loud as you want to, or practice your violin or something. But it could also be like more on a level of, there was another level I was thinking for this, of just like intuition or emotional protection, psychic protection, something like that. Because we have a trine from the 12th to the 4th, I also wonder for Aries if some Aries out there in the next 6 months could possibly be, I don't know, doing some kind of therapy or any kind of inner work that supports connecting to your emotional well-being, and maybe even calling on spirit guides or connecting with your deeper psychological awareness to heal or move forward on an emotional level. So for some Aries, it might really be about, I want to feel more okay in this scenario. Let me work on getting some tools or some skills, or just processing some emotions so I can feel like I am okay in this area. But again, the 12th house can also be recovery. It can be getting sober. It can be overcoming an addiction, overcoming a mental health issue, recovering in a hospital, going to a retreat, connecting with spirit guides, getting a therapist, doing anything that you would title recovery. I see that in the 12th house, especially with Saturn here too. Some Aries might just be going to a, Buddhist retreat, or some kind of trip, or some kind of like putting themselves in a certain amount of isolation from their everyday life for the purpose of spiritual growth and emotional fulfillment. So that's another thing some Aries might be doing. Overall, this eclipse is all about you going after what you want in life, initiating the projects you want to initiate, especially those that tap into, that Cancer energy of feeling good in your own skin, and the Pisces energy of kind of like receiving all the messages from the collective artistry, creativity, and that divine, like jumping into the divine, you know, jumping into the ocean of the divine and knowing you are one of the drops in the ocean, and having those experiences that might be more on the subconscious level as well. I would not be surprised if some Aries out there want to do like QHHT or any other kinds of like hypnosis or like altered states of consciousness that are going to support the greater well-being as well. So that is what I have for Aries. You might also see some financial changes coming up, or more freedom with your money too. So that's what we're gonna stop there for Aries. You can also check out the lunar eclipse video if you did not yet. It's still relevant. It will still be relevant until the next eclipse season. So whenever you're watching this, as long as we're in 2025, as long as it's before fall, then this is still going to be relevant. Okay. Going on now to our next sign, which is Taurus. Aries, let me know if that resonated. I always love hearing from you. All right, so let me get the caption up for Tauruses. And coffee. It was one of those mornings, guys, where do you ever have a day where you wake up and you know you're just going to need more coffee? That was my feeling this morning. I was like, yeah, we're going to need that. But the energy is here now. I'm live. I'm talking to you guys, and it is good. Okay, Taurus, the solar eclipse in Aries on the 29th of March is happening in your 12th house of the subconscious mind, spirit guides, recovery, 12 step, or any other kind of recovery from self-sabotaging tendencies. It's the 12th house is isolation. It's where we go to privately understand ourselves, how we think, how we might be self-sabotaging, really that deep subconscious ocean, right? And having the sun and moon there will illuminate that. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be horrible, right? It might actually be a positive thing. If you're a Taurus who is like seeking clarity on why you do the things you do or why you are the way you are, then this eclipse might help you to, this eclipse might help you to do that more. So if you're already trying to do that, that's really in alignment. Let's say you're not though. Let's say you're not. What could be showing up in life for 12th house stuff? Well, with Mars in the third especially, people who are Tauruses out there, who are writers, who enjoy writing of any kind, who write music, who write poetry, who write emails, marketing, any kind of writing you could do. Mars in the third usually is someone who likes to write or who writes. Now, are you famous? I don't know. You know what I mean? You could just journal every day. Mars in Cancer could be, I write because then I feel better. But having the Mars in Cancer in the third while the eclipse is in the 12th, the 12th house is about things we do in private, right? It's about working behind the scenes sometimes. And then Mars in the third being about writing, this could be some Tauruses taking time out to work behind the scenes on some kind of written project, like a book or a blog or a book of poems or a album or whatever else you could be writing. So that might be one of the more positive ways that Mars in the third can function to support. Now, for Tauruses who are like, I'm really struggling right now, I would say maybe try journaling. I mean, I always would recommend that for anyone just because I've gotten so much out of it. But with this influence, especially if your goal is to like figure out how you feel or process emotions, I would say, let me see how I want to say that. I would say it's possible during this time that for Tauruses, writing could be a tool you choose to use to do that. And with Venus making a trine from the 11th house of friends, audience, community, it feels like with Saturn here, Tauruses might be stepping up to some kind of commitment in their community and meeting someone or a bunch of someones who maybe are helping you defend your local environment or helping you feel like you're capable of speaking your thoughts, or maybe they get you thinking about stuff. Maybe you find a community or an online community that you're watching in the privacy of your own home where they're helping you frame some things in your mind, or even like helping you create an argument and defend something, right? So who knows, maybe some Tauruses out there are like, I don't know, finding some like, I don't know how to explain it. Um, like a group, like a lawyer's community that helps you learn how to defend your business or something, right? Like something like that, where there's some kind of group or community aspect here that ends up being a support to something Mars in the third. Now, Mars in the third could be driving fast. Mars in the third could be speaking your mind in a strong way. And so this can be, some of you Tauruses might be getting a little bit political, or a little bit like you're speaking out against things that are injustices. That 11th house and 12th house energies put together do kind of spell out social justice, or caring about humanity, caring about the good of the whole. But also, some Tauruses might just be inspired by something during this 6 months with Venus, Neptune in the 11th. This is like going to an aquarium or a show, or a creative, a play, or anything creative that like sets a scene that influences the people you are around. So maybe some Tauruses are just getting into this creative vibe and they're going to slam poetry, or they're going to, shows, or they're going to see art or music or something else. And that's, bringing up, or just not even bringing up anything. Maybe you're just doing that. Maybe you're just going to a bunch of art galleries and going to busy Mars in the third, going to see art, sell art, view art, appraise art, food tasting, wine tasting, just like going out to enjoy the senses. That really does feel like there might be more of that for Tauruses this coming 6 month cycle. But I kind of want to go back to this 12th house stuff, because I think the 12th house people get kind of scared of this. Don't be scared of this. It could also be like some Tauruses might be processing an event that was some kind of loss during this time. And that it's about like, with that 12th house, it's about like figuring out who you are without that thing. Figuring out who you are now that that person isn't who you thought they were, or that relationship may not have worked out, or something else like that. Don't think I'm predicting those bad things, but that it might just be about learning how to grieve in some way. And that grief could be a loss of a community or something. And maybe it's actually entrance to a new community that, or the same community that is supporting. So like a support group, this is support group energy. Now, if you're like, no, that doesn't resonate, then just let it slide. Don't worry too much about it. But I do feel like there's something going on with this Mars Saturn trine here of stepping up and taking some kind of responsibility in your community, or in a group, or in a, like a group, like a professional networking group or something like this, might help almost like release some pent up energy and help you kind of process whatever is going on. So for Tauruses who, maybe not all of you are struggling, right? But if you are a Taurus who is having some challenges, it almost feels like this could be an example of you being like, almost like when you break up. Okay, when you have a breakup and then you just like join something, you join a cause, you get busy in some kind of thing that isn't about you, and you connect with a cause that's greater than yourself. It could be something really big and significant, like a church thing or a spiritual thing, but it could also just be like anything that to you is like, oh yeah, I could help out with this. I could take minutes for this meeting. I could volunteer for this thing, or I can step up to this work where I'm helping people in groups or something. Okay, so I see for Tauruses that 12th house energy of spending time by yourself or behind the scenes in the next 6 months, but also because Venus is you, right? So you are actually here in the community. You're out with friends. You're connected to spiritual groups of people, Venus and Pisces. You're connected to creative groups of people and also spending a certain amount of time behind the scenes. So I think it's going to be both. And as far as like the highest potential for this one, I would say writing is a huge one that I connected with, but also Jupiter's still in that second house, is going to support with the possibility of either growing your income or growing your skills as well. So that's what I have for Taurus. Let me know in a comment if it resonated. I always love hearing from you. And we're going to go on to our next sign, which is going to be our Geminis. Okay, Gemini, let me actually get the caption up here. Okay, Geminis. We have for Geminis the solar eclipse in Aries in the 11th house and Mars ruling the eclipse in the second house. So I like this. I like this because the 11th house is a positive house. It represents our hopes and dreams. So some Geminis might be initiating something that requires making more money to accomplish a hope and dream, but adjustments are required here. Although I will say having a planet in the second aspecting the 11th, and also the fact that the moon is in Aries while Mars is in Cancer. Even though Mars isn't like loving Cancer and the moon isn't loving Aries either, but they're in each other's houses here. So it's like, and the sun is actually exalted in Aries. So whenever we have an eclipse in Aries, it's like, I don't want to pick favorites or anything, but it's like the sun is happier here. So it's going to do better things, you know? So what does it mean for Geminis? Well, pursuing hopes and dreams, using money to go after your hopes and dreams. And maybe with that Saturn in the 10th, committing to some kind of sacrifice related to your job, your reputation, your public image. So oftentimes this means working harder or doing work that maybe requires more. That could be stepping up to something where you're in more of an authority position than you've been in the past, but it can also be it can also be just making sacrifices now for later kind of a thing. And the thing is that Mars also rules your sixth house. So if you're a Gemini and you have employees, this can be you having employees make you money. And that would be nice, wouldn't it? But it does feel like because Mars is trine Saturn in this eclipse for all of us across the board, there is sort of this energy of like pushing through something, pushing through some kind of challenge, striving, like stepping up, figuring out where we want to sacrifice, maybe having to step up and lead in places that other authorities are not. Sometimes Saturn in Pisces has that overall significance of authorities let us down, right? And so we have to figure it out anyway. The boss who normally does everything is sick or on vacation, or, it doesn't have to be they let us down and now our life is destroyed, but just the authority that normally is there, not being present, not being capable of leading in the way that they normally can or should or ideally would, right? So it's like less than ideal circumstances we're stepping up to. We're working hard. We're busy making money or getting other people to make money for us. And maybe we're investing. Maybe some Geminis are investing money into their future, although this is not advice for that or not. But it does feel like the real focus here for the next 6 months is going to be focusing on community, on money, right? Because the 11th house is a money house. It's the money you get from the work you do. And with Venus Neptune in the 10th house, I will say this. Number one, if you are a Gemini out there and you are feeling like you don't know if you're on the right track, Neptune in the 10th will do that to you. And it's stronger at the end of the sign. It's stronger at that 29 degree. So if you're feeling like, oh, I just want to throw in the towel, I think I'm on the wrong track. I'm not saying don't listen to your intuition, but maybe just see if you still feel that way when Neptune gets into Aries, because it's not that I think Neptune and Aries will give you so much clarity. I think it will give you a little bit of relief from the confusion Neptune creates. Neptune is like driving in the fog. It's in your 10th house of career, reputation, life direction, while Saturn is there. So it's like, on one hand, Geminis are going to feel right now like, I need to live up to something. I need to step up to something. I need to have something to be known for. There's a little bit of pressure on Geminis since March of 2023, 2 years ago, when Saturn entered Pisces. So how has your work life, your reputation, your work, your what you're known for in your career gotten stronger, more solid, required more sacrifice, required more stepping up to authority? What have you gained in this area? What have you become more capable of, Gemini? That is definitely a part of this eclipse, and Mars will stimulate that even more. So if you had a higher position in your job, or you were doing harder work, or you've been able to accomplish more things or something, Mars is going to be like, okay, now let's put more on your plate. Now let's give you more. And this could be something like, a Gemini who works in some kind of financial field. Now it's tax season. You know what I mean? Like, it can be a season. It doesn't have to be the whole 6-month time. But the theme here we have is stepping up to authority, also having some element of joy or ease when it comes to your profession. Now, this could also be more specific for certain people. For some people, it's about allure, creating a vibe, creating a scene, creating a certain public image that is maybe not real, right? And I say that, with Neptune, it's things that are not real, like I don't really look exactly like this. There is lighting. There is a shitload of makeup. There is this part of my hair is back here, right? So that's what I mean by that Neptune, Venus allure, is like the movie set in real life doesn't actually look like that. But when they put the cameras in a certain way, it creates a not real thing that we all love to watch because it's beautiful and it's alluring, and it's because it's not real. That's what makes it so spectacular, because we don't see rooms that have 60 30 10 color ratios in real life. That's what makes it such a vibe when we do see it on a movie, because it's something that is like special, right? So resonates about this, Gemini, as far as the vibe in the 10th house of something special, something unique, something creative, that is like maybe not normally there. That's what I think for this eclipse in terms of that Venus stuff. And for some people, it's going to be something specific like makeup, or like wardrobe, or like painting a room, or making the aesthetic, or even the smells, or the whatever of the place that you're at more of vibey, So for some Geminis, that's going to ring true and make a lot of sense. If it doesn't make sense, just let it go, because Mars stimulating Venus could actually be you taking something you created behind the scenes and making it more public, especially for those Geminis who might be more artistically inclined. But if that's not the case, again, Mars, Venus, I do think this trine here is going to give some kind of potential to use whatever you're looking like in your career, whether it's your actual physical look, or whether it's the website or the brand you've created, or whatever it is in your career, your resume, your job. It's creating a visual, or not even a visual. It's giving an impression. It's giving them an impression that might allow you to make more money or cause you to have to put more work in at this time to either maintain to maintain it or to grow it. Okay, so lots of potential for Geminis here, especially with Jupiter still in your first house through June, to grow your own self, cultivate your skills, and really, it does give me the feeling of like we're using this tension. We're jumping off of something, we're accomplishing something. We're putting ourselves out there. We're having more fun. We're connecting with more people or the same people, but on a deeper or more interesting instinctual level. So some Geminis, it can be teaching, leading groups. It can be, again, joining professional associations and making your mark on people. That is what I feel for Geminis. Okay. Okay. So I want to check the comments here and then we're going to go on to Cancers. So we have SK says, you're to the point as always. Best of best from Serbia. Thank you. Best of the best right back to you. Thank you. And then we have Daniela. I'm not sure how to say your name. Hello. Also from Serbia. Thank you. Thank you for the good vibes. And I think I missed Sandra earlier when she said, that's right, your birthday is March 29th. So you get an eclipse in your solar return. So that'll be interesting. That doesn't always happen. All right, we're going on now to our Cancers. And let me get this on here. Okay. Okay, so for Cancers, we have, let's see. We have the solar eclipse in Aries in your 10th house of career, reputation, public image, and it's like your public life. It's your most visible life. Now, visible aspect of your life. Mars squaring that eclipse by sign from the first house of Cancer. You might be busy. Cancers might be busy in the next 6 months. Basically initiating a new or, important phase of life. So examples, a new job, a new baby, new family, getting married, possibly other changes of status, changing where you live, big life changes that affect the way people see you. So the things that when someone asks you about yourself, the things that are most like external, right? Like this is where I work, this is where I live, this is who I date, these are my kids, I'm married, I'm single, I'm this, I'm this. Okay, so it's that kind of stuff with the 10th house, first house axis here that we see, not even axis, that's wrong. But from the 10th house, first house connection that we see changes, right? We see some pressure from Cancers to do something. Cancers have pressure to act. And that might not be bad pressure. That might be good pressure where you're like, yeah, I got to get all this stuff done for work. I got this big project, or we got this baby coming, or we want to buy this house, or, we're getting married or something. So for Cancers, I do see a time where there's a lot of focus on those external things. And, Mars in the first can have you busy. It can have you literally moving more, right? Because Mars like stimulates things and heats them up. Think of just when things get heated up and it's like you're doing more stuff, you're packing so you can move, or you're unpacking after you've moved, or you're getting all the stuff ready for this big work project. It's like there's some activity happening here with Mars in Cancer, making that sign-based square to the eclipse. And also Venus coming down from the 9th. I'm really loving this because it makes that activity be for a higher purpose. It makes that activity feel meaningful. So I wonder if Cancers have some kind of important life change or important life opportunity that is coming from this spiritual place of, because I believe this, or because this is what is meaningful to me. I'm able to, it's almost it's almost like you're calling on God or a higher power or spirit for support in, or maybe not for support, because this feels happier. You know, it feels like you're calling either on a higher power or some knowledge you already have to accomplish something. And it's like the knowledge you have or the faith you have in your belief system or your maybe Zen Buddhism practice or something is going to help you get through all of this action that needs to be taken, or going to support you just being your best and most nurtured self so that you can do what you need to do. And this could really be like either spirituality or information helping you feel more nourished, so that you can do all the things. Now, with Jupiter in the 12th, Cancers are going to have still a few more months of Jupiter supporting. The most here is like you praying, praying, seeing the good in things, gratitude practice, focusing on gratitude when you're by yourself, learning a bunch of different spiritual things when you're by yourself, doing Jupiter things in your private time. Jupiter things are like learning, meditating, getting closer to God, learning philosophy, learning why. And so that really does feel important here, even though it's, the moon is actually at 8, the moon and sun are at 8 during this eclipse. I just have to change it for the to get the sign here so I can read it. But the point is doing things behind the scenes that are about growing your spirituality or praying or faith or subconscious mind and understanding why you are the way you are, therapy, things like that are all going to support your public image, your ability to confidently go forward in your life, to confidently shine and step up and step out and kind of like be seen doing what you do. And with Saturn here in the 9th house, we have a real commitment to spiritual things, a commitment to learning. Saturn can be making your education process right now more slow, but it's almost like you can go slower to win, go slower to get the information to really sink in, whatever you're learning or studying on a spiritual level or on a deeper educational level, with even with like your work and stuff, like ongoing education and stuff. That can also be getting serious right now, and you can be busy trying to kind of put all these things in your head, doing on I keep thinking like continuing education or continuing learning, like CLEs and like stuff like that for whatever your field is. So some Cancers might just be doing that, and it's really about learning, and what you're doing in your spare time is learning, and it's all about stepping up to that, whatever the role is in your career. And sun in the 10th is like being seen, or being stepping forward, being seen, being the one who can lead and who can it doesn't mean you're going to be a manager if you never wanted to, but whatever the highest leadership would be in the field that you have or the field that you're going into. And let's say you're a Cancer and you're like a stay-at-home mom right now or something. Well, then that sun in the 10th is like, how am I going to raise my kid, right? It's like that's still that leadership of your role in life. Okay, so that is what I see for Cancers for this eclipse. Now we're going to go to Leos. And yes, Leos are next. Okay. And I want to check in on the comments here. Oh, Rebecca is saying hello from Reno. That's so close to me. I'm over here in Vegas. Super nice here too right now. It's like the perfect time of year. I hope it's like that for you too. Captain says howdy, hello. And Keiko says hello from Japan. Wow, everyone's here from all over today. I love it. I love it. I know it's maybe late for some of you or early morning for some of you. Most of you, it's probably later though, actually. Um, anyway, let me get on to Leos. All right, so for Leos, we have that solar eclipse in the ninth house and bringing a focus on ninth house things. So this is going to be different for each one of you. So you have to think about what makes more sense in your life. Is it higher education? Is it studying more in depth, something you already know? Is it spiritual studies? Is it astrology? Is it travel? Is it just, spending the next 6 months really digging into a topic or taking a course on something you want to know about? What else could it be? What else could it be with the ninth house? I got the spiritual side, legal stuff, right? So if you're a Leo who wants to do something with the law and also publishing. So any of these topics could be taking center stage for you in the next 6 months. And then we have the ruler of the eclipse is Mars in the 12th house. So when I think of 12th house to ninth house stuff, this really does get kind of deep, right? Because the ninth house is the house of God. The 12th house is the house of isolation. Some Leos might be committing to more of a practice with their meditation or something along those lines. But with Mars being the planet in the 12th, it feels more like an active thing, like yoga or like Tai Chi. Or like yoga, tai chi, qigong. What else could you do? Tapping, EFT, walking meditations. Maybe even what is it? Pranic healing, where it's energy work, but there's some movement involved. Okay, so any of these type of things that combine Mars, which is, moving the body, and isolation and spirituality. So some Leos just might be not just. Some Leos might be getting into something like that in the next 6 months. Now, for other Leos, Mars in the 12th might actually represent repressed anger. Some Leos could be focusing on trying to unrepress that anger or really taking a look at what pisses them off. Now, I'm not predicting that all Leos out there are going to, oh shoot, I got my caption down. I'm not predicting that all Leos out there are like, this is a bad thing. It's more like maybe there is some unrepressed anger that you're tapping into that's providing the motivation to write a book or to, I don't know, do some kind of other spiritual practice or learn a spiritual art. This may or may not be anger. Now, Venus trines this Mars. And Mars rules the eclipse, so that's why it's so important here. And it's ruling, for you, it's the ninth house where this action is happening. And again, 8th house to 12th house stuff has this psychological undertone of like, these are private houses. The 8th house is intimacy. So some Leos may have a greater sense of intimacy, and that worst case scenario, this brings up some subconscious jealousy or some subconscious like competition with your partner. It's almost like now, just take this as if it resonates. Gosh, it's almost as if like you get intimate with someone and then suddenly you want to like be better than them. You want to like outdo them or something. Just take that if it resonates. But it does feel like there is this Mars in the 12th is not to be ignored. Okay. And that's the important thing for Leos for this 6 months is if you're pissed off about something, give yourself the space to express it, even if it is only to your own self, because it's not going to go away. But it can be used as a source of motivation. Also, the 8th house can represent the other side of the veil, With Saturn here, there might be some serious things happening in that regard. Now, that can just be intuition development, but it could go a little deeper than this, especially if you are a person who has ever like seen a ghost or really kind of resonates or relates with the other side in that sense. There can be stuff there. There can be stuff there. But with Venus and Neptune here, it's almost like you have psychic protection and you're getting good messages. If you are a person who is interested in the other side and things like that, let's say you're not. Well, this can also be, and now if you are though, it could also be Saturn in the 8th could be you like practicing your intuition, practicing your readings. And this Mars can just be the motivation psychologically to get to the bottom of it, to like understand what's ailing people, to help them in their crisis. Some Leos could have someone in your life who is grieving. You could have someone in your life who is having some psychological fears come up and you're helping them. You're with them on that journey and you have your own feelings about it, and that's fine. Now let's say you're not doing the psychic thing at all, and that's not a part of your life right now. Some of this 8th house stuff can have to do with your partner's money. So that would be, if that's the case, I'm feeling that's a little more of a challenge area for the next 6 months because we've got Saturn here and we've got Neptune in a money house usually is not welcome because Neptune dissolves things. It like makes things slowly slip away. So we really don't want it to be with our money. And when it is, sometimes we lose our money or we don't want to think about it. We want it to be easy. And so for if you're a Leo out there and you have some kind of settlement or some other financial thing like that coming down the pike, this could just be showing us that that's part of the story of your life right now, is dealing with the stepping up to deal with that while you don't really want to deal with it. That's kind of what it could be. But it also feels like with Venus here, that what Leos step up to deal with related to debt, inheritance, other people's money, shared resources, interest, even your client's money with packages or some kind of commitments or something, that there might be just a lot of focus on that. And it can cause some almost like getting more money helps you do more of the spiritual work kind of a thing. Nothing wrong with that. We also have Jupiter in the 11th on this one for Leo. So we're going to see potential growth still through June related to friends, community, social circles, or social media. Okay, we're going to stop there for Leos because of time. And we're going to go on to our next sign, which is our Virgos. All right, Virgos, I'm having some coffee and then we are going to your sign. Okay. Virgos, solar eclipse in Aries in the 8th house. Don't be all afraid of the 8th house. New beginnings or focusing a lot right now or in the next 6 months on debt, paying it off, getting into it. I'm not saying you should. Retirement, saving for retirement, investing. If you have one-on-one clients, Virgos might be focusing on getting paid from them, like how to structure your packages, what kind of commitments you want from the clients you work with. If you do not have one-on-one clients, this could actually be for Virgos who are in a relationship. It's likely the next 6 months there's going to be a focus on your partner's income, especially if you are someone who that is your main source of income, right? Is like someone else. Someone else is the provider. And that's totally fine. It's just that it's going to be focusing on that. So it might be that the partner is working really hard to do that, getting overtime or something, or there's commitments you're making with the partner that relate to finances. And we're talking about who's paying this, who's paying that, right? So the second 8th house axis is my money or yours. And when there's an eclipse in the 8th house, it's yours. Now, if you're financially supporting yourself, then it's less likely to be that. It could be, but it's less likely to be that. It's more likely to be you you working with the money in your own life, in your own account that's going to other people or from other people, and really kind of focusing on that. It could just be, again, if you have one-on-one clients growing your income. Now let's set aside the financial aspect of this and talk about what else could be happening. The 8th house is like transformation, but how do we transform? By overcoming our fears. Virgos might want to put yourself into a situation that causes a change. Virgos might need to change this next 6 months. Virgos might need to take some risks, or whatever your comfort zone is in an area, expand that comfort zone through something related to community, to your social media audience, to maybe even like networking associations or making new friends. So some Virgos might be facing fears making new friends, joining again, like a networking program that helps you get more clients or something, or, taking more action that's community based in order to support a commitment to someone else or something like that. So maybe your partner needs you to show up at these social functions, and so you're obligated to do that. And you're like showing up as their partner and helping out. I'm trying to think of what else this Saturn in the 7th could be. Saturn in the 7th can be making commitments to people. It could be like straight up getting married, straight up having kids. I've seen this before where while Saturn transits the 7th, you make a big commitment to another person. And that's what that looks like. If that's the case, there's going to be, for Virgos who might be getting married in the next 6 months, if that applies to you, if it sounds like your life is already probably going to head in that direction anyway, for those of you who that relates, well, then some of you might be putting a lot of energy toward getting all the people into the wedding, or like figuring out who's not coming, or figuring out like how big of a place you need for all the guests, right? And it's like that Mars in the 11th makes me feel like it would be a little bit more tension related to that. And also getting you closer to other people, right? Because when you do plan a big thing like a wedding with someone, I've never done it, but I think it probably, sometimes when you go through something with someone, it creates a closer connection. Virgos in general, setting aside everything else, might be making closer connections. If you're a Virgo who wants to get close to people, this would be a time where you definitely could. Even though Mars in the 11th doesn't spell ease when it comes to social circles, it might just be like, maybe you go to fights and watch fights, maybe you're going to social things that are more Mars related. Maybe you're going to the gym and lifting weights. Maybe you are watching competitions, and those are the kind of social events you're seeing in the next 6 months. Maybe you are hustling to reach a goal. This gives me the feeling of hustling to reach a goal and like committing maybe to a group of people. Some Virgos might do some kind of transformational program in the next 6 months where you're like, yes, I'm going to jump in and be a new version of myself. And that can be through a group setting. That could also be through anything that sort of takes your current reality and expands it a bit. So that could be a bunch of different stuff with that 8th house. But I do think of the 8th house as intimacy, right? And the sun and the moon, they're growing that intimacy. And, that sun and the moon being that eclipse, just giving us the idea that creating intimacy might become more important in the next 6 months for Virgos. Overcoming blocks to intimacy might be important. And especially with the North Node Venus, Neptune in that 7th, even though Saturn's there, it's like we're called to create joy and love with people. We're called to connect with others. This is a call to connect for Virgos because there's so much connection needed here. Now that might be in your business or in your job where you need to be connected to the people you're working with. They need to trust you. You need to trust them. There's community. Maybe some of the people are fighting with each other because, you know, when you work somewhere, people don't always get along. And then maybe the Mars in the 11th is that, where it's like the community of your workplace or the community of your passion that you're focused on has some people who don't always see eye to eye with each other. So it might not be that bad of a deal, but this is all about connection. And some Virgos might be meeting people or already have people in your life that are taking the center stage, that are artistic, creative, metaphysical, spiritual, kind of hippies, but like maybe have their shit together a little. You know, there's like this beautiful ease that comes with Venus, Neptune, and Pisces. And the North Node just expands that. So what do we want to do for the next 6 months as Virgos? We want to go all into beauty and creating a vibe and vibing with people and listening to the best music with people and eating the best food with people. Venus is exalted in Pisces. Venus rules the money. Okay, so we have an eclipse in one of the money houses, while the planet ruling the eclipse is in a money house. And Venus is exalted, the planet that rules money. So we have money, money, money. It doesn't mean we have Virgos being millionaires, but it feels like there's this motivation to make money more better, make it easier. Making money easier might be exactly what Virgos need and want to focus on. You could just focus forever, right? Because the North Node is hungry. It never gets tired of what? Of making money easier, of making money in a spiritual or creative way. So Virgos might have that calling in the next 6 months. And, you know, with Jupiter in the 10th through June, there is definitely still, and it'll still be in the 11th in June. So it's not like it goes away. But from now till June, it might be about growing your skills, growing your reputation, growing your what you're known for, making it better, making it bigger, making it farther reaching or more meaningful. And then hopefully in June, when Jupiter gets into Cancer, maybe there's a little bit of a benefit that comes in then too, of like money, right? Because the 11th house is a money house, money or community. So I'm going to stop there for Virgos. We're going to go on to our next sign, and let me know, Virgos, if that resonated. I always love hearing from you. Okay, and I'm seeing more hellos. Okay, so we got a hello from England from Alex. Hello, Alex. It must be evening over there. So happy Saturday night. NC is here. Hello, NC. And we're going to go on to our next sign, which is our Libras. So for Libras, we have the sun, the eclipse in the 7th house of relationships. It's a solar eclipse. This does not mean relationships are eclipsed out of your life. It means they're probably eclipsed into your life. And remember, those relationships can be with not coworkers, actually. They can be with significant others, but they can also be with friends, one-on-one clients, anyone one-on-one. And that Mars in the 10th makes it feel like maybe new connections with people are required. Maybe you have to adjust and make new connections for your job. Maybe maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the job is like, how do I put it? Making adjustments to the job for the people in your life. Maybe it's about creating more work-life balance for the partner you have so you can protect them and care for them. Maybe it's that. Maybe some Libras are having new levels of relationship connection, especially with long-term partners here, or even really close friends, where you're like, okay, now that I'm in this relationship, or now that we're in this stage of our relationship, Libra doesn't want to work all the time. Libra wants to have some fun. Libra wants to go on vacations with their significant other. Libra wants to retire early. Maybe if that's the season of life you're in, because they met someone to go travel with, and now there's a reason for that. So some Libras, I don't want to make too big of promises here that like everyone's going to have that story, but for some Libras, that is a possibility of having some kind of connection be the motivation to adjust your work schedule or to adjust. Now, it could go the other way where it's like, now I want to get further in my career because this person is supporting me or helping me. And for some Libras, the worst case scenario with this square would be the partner doesn't like the job or doesn't want you to be working so much, or there's some kind of disconnect here where adjustments have to be made because the for you Libra, it's like you can't make your boss happy and your partner happy. And so there might be times where you have to choose between, and it might not be the boss, it might be just the job. You can't do what you want to do in work and do what the partner wants at the same time. So adjustments have to be made. Okay, so then what else do we see for Libras? Well, we've got Venus trining thus Mars from the sixth house. So doing quality work or enjoying your work or having more responsibility in your job, but at the same time creating something beautiful with it or being able to enjoy it while you're doing it is highlighted. Skills, being of service to others. So again, this is making me feel like there's something going on for Libras here where it's a relationship, you want to do their dishes, or like you want to take care of them. You want to drive them to work or do other things that are going to support this person. But it could go the other way. It could go the other way where maybe you and the partner are doing things together. Maybe you're making the food together and there's an enjoyment of taking care of the day-to-day things. Maybe you are going to the grocery store together and it's bringing more love into, more love and connection into your day-to-day life. The sixth house is also pets. So for some Libras, maybe there is a new pet that you have to take care of. Saturn in the sixth, bringing that added responsibility, but it also has that Venus Neptune just taking you to a new vibe in your day-to-day life, right? Like when you have a new cat or something, you're just like, oh my God, I love you. I want to take pictures of you. Like when you just love the animal, that's a very Venus in the sixth type of thing. But for other Libras, that enjoyment of the sixth house could really be like, I'm enjoying making my food every day and eating it, like it. And it's like, it really could be something like you're enjoying how you spend your time and it's with others. So the other could be, again, a long-term partner, a love partner, a married partner, or it could be a best friend or a new best friend or an old best friend. And it's like, we're going to have lunch together all the time. And it really could just be that for Libras. Please tell me, those of you who are Libras, that you're like, oh yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Because it really does spell that story of you as the Libra spending your time in that sixth house of your routine, what you're putting time into, trying to get good at a skill or something. And that kind of possibly affecting your public image, but also just like, being seen with your best friend, being seen with your partner, having lunch together, having breakfast together, those kind of things. That's what I have for Libras. Let me know if it resonated. And be sure to check out the lunar eclipse too. It's still relevant. We're going to go on now to our next sign, which is our Scorpios. Okay, for Scorpios, the solar eclipse in Aries is happening in your sixth house. And the sixth house is the house of how you spend your time, the work that you do, the chores that you do, the stuff that has to be taken care of. It is even things like paying bills, paying rent. So this is going to be a focal point. Well, does that mean it's going to suck? Not necessarily. For some Scorpios, maybe you're sharpening the axe, developing a new skill. Maybe it's a creative skill. And for some Scorpios, maybe you're publishing something and you're spending a lot of time working on it. For other Scorpios with Mars up in the ninth, maybe what you're doing is travel. Maybe you're traveling, maybe you're publishing something, or you're learning something new, and you're really bringing your spirituality into your day-to-day life. And maybe it's not about getting anywhere, right? With Mars in the ninth, it's about the quest, right? It's about the spiritual quest, the path to God, the part of our life that is meaningful. And when we can do that, there's a bit of a luxury in the ninth house. And the luxury is that usually your life has to be in order to a certain degree before you can be studying philosophy, to a degree. And so the luxury here is that we get to focus on that. We get to focus on things that are meaningful. Maybe some Scorpios are focusing on a cause that's really important to them and they want to defend that cause. That could be happening too here. And let me see what else I want to say about Scorpios. That's also going to be okay. For some Scorpios, maybe you're getting a pet, and that's part of the next 6 months. For others, it's possible it's a new job, that a job is making you work, that a job is giving you more to do, or that you're focusing on employees. Okay, for Scorpios who, some Scorpios, maybe if you have your own business or something, you're getting employees, you're traveling, you're doing things that are more meaningful and creative, and you have other people doing the work. I hope that's true for a lot of you because that's kind of awesome. And let's see what else. Venus in the fifth, trining Mars in the ninth, gives me the feeling of your creativity or enjoying your creativity or even enjoying dating. You could have a muse right now, right? Like somebody is your muse and you are like writing about it or publishing it or motivated to do things that are really meaningful because of this muse and this person or these people, possibly, of like this creative or sexual chemistry. That is a possibility. That is definitely a possibility. Okay, for some Scorpio, what I'm feeling is too, there could be something about like spiritual sexuality or tantra or other things that I don't know much about, but that could be important here because we have the fifth house that does rule sex and fun and pleasure. Okay. And then we have you, which is also the ruler of the eclipse in the ninth house of God. So where do pleasure and God, like how do those connect? How do they support each other? Well, I mean, I'm not going to spell it out for you, but yeah, this is not, okay, this is not judgment about sexuality. This is very much a very, what is it called? Sex positive? I don't even know what that means, but it feels like that here. Even with Saturn here, there just feels like there's good positive things happening here related to, and even if the sex stuff doesn't resonate, okay, let's just focus on other parts of the fifth house. Pleasure, enjoyment, okay, creativity, getting things you could get lost in, but you're willing to commit to it. So it's almost like with Saturn, Venus, Neptune in the fifth house, this makes me feel like, it makes me feel like it's about committing to a creative process where by showing up to it over and over, beauty emerges, right? So it's like if you're writing music, you're going to show up, get out the instrument or the pen and paper or whatever, and just play with it a little bit and like creating the structure to like have the time to allow it to flourish. Scorpios might be committing to something that represents pleasure, and they might have something like that going on. Okay. And then what else do I see here? Yeah, I really think that ninth house, sixth house connection is really about how are Scorpios in the next 6 months going to be focusing on spending their time in a way that honors their spiritual beliefs And it really, I do feel like there is some luxury in this. Now, there could be some focus on work. There could be some focus on accomplishing things, but not for the sake of being seen accomplishing, more for the sake of like doing the thing, like getting the garage cleaned out, not so your buddies can see how clean and awesome your garage is, but just so that you can be like, ah, I did this, you know? So it's the joy of the practice that I see, the joy of the practice, the focus on the practice, the focus on the, you know, just if you're making the coffee, just making the coffee the best way you can make the coffee, and just honoring your own time with what you are focusing on and presence. Okay. That's what I see possibly showing up in the next 6 months for Scorpios. We're going to move on to our next sign, which is Sagittarius's. Hello, Sagittarius. We have the solar eclipse in Aries in the 5th house. I like an eclipse in the fun house because it kind of shows that we're going to focus the next 6 months on creating joy, on creativity, on dating, on romance. Even if you're in a committed relationship, you can still focus on the pleasure side of things. And that can be sexual, but it can also be just, what do you do for fun, Sag? What are you doing that's entertaining? And, you know, it doesn't feel like just Sag is going out getting wasted or something. It feels more like initiating a new creative project, you know, starting something new that might be related to entertainment or pleasure or intimacy, right? Because we have the 5th house and the 8th house are very much relationship houses, and then Jupiter's in the 7th. So this is all about like, it really is. If you're a single Sagittarius, this next 6 months might be a time where you are going out dating again, or dating more than you are now, or just focusing on really calling into your life the love that you want, the intimacy that you want. It really does feel like it's good energy for that. Now, other 5th house things are children. Other 5th house things are businesses. Okay, so this is also a business thing. Why? Because the 5th house rules self-employment, and the 8th house rules the money you get from clients. These are your clients. This is your clients' money. Your business is focusing on clients' money. Your business is your energy, your life force energy. What you're creating could be focusing on investing into creating clients, investing into initiating relationships and connections with people that are going to become clients. Okay, only apply that if self-employment is an important thing right now. If not, there's other stuff in the 5th house is going to represent for you. Such as gambling. Okay, some Sagittarius might actually be gambling like for fun and enjoyment, or like taking risks with the stock market and stuff like that sort of gambling. I'm not recommending that. That's not advice. And what else? I'm trying to, there's a bunch of stuff going on in the 4th house here. So Saturn in the 4th will be a time where you might be connecting with your intuition. Saturn in the 4th can also have you thinking about the long term and what you want to do, like where you're not actually professionally and where you'd rather be. This has been going on for 2 years, Sag. So don't think it's like hitting you now. But if you felt like this the last 2 years, like I'm really not where I want to be professionally, well, that feeling, let it guide you, bounce off of that to figure out where you do want to be. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Plant those seeds now. Venus, Neptune here in the 4th is you can really enjoy getting to know your own emotions. Saturn will kind of force you to deal with the emotional stuff that you haven't dealt with. So if you find that's coming up, it's normal, it's on track. Venus, Neptune here will be the spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down. Good time to journal. I say that I've said that for like every sign so far, but you're not immune to that. It's a good time to figure out how you feel, to be willing to look at negative emotions, because Venus, Neptune will help you see them, will help it be easier to go on that path of facing and dealing with and feeling and healing the challenging emotions going on. Now, I don't think the next 6 months is going to be emotional hell. I think that maybe this Saturn in the 4th for Sagittarius are What do you want to commit to relating to your home? Maybe you want to make a new commitment for a new place to live. Maybe there's going to be more intimacy and love and maybe even romance in your home because we have Venus Mars trine. So Venus gives Mars good things in the eighth house of intimacy. Mars stimulates Venus in the fourth house of privacy. So some Sagittarius are just going to have more ability to receive what you want in life. And it feels like that might be really needed for Sagittarius. Maybe there's something there. And Jupiter and Venus having aspect, Jupiter in the seventh of relationships. This is a time, I mean, I really feel like for Sagittarius, this is a time to love and trust and connect and meet more people and express yourself and have fun and tell jokes and be happy to be who you are and to be alive. That is what I feel for Sagittarius. This next 6 months, maybe accomplishing, maybe getting somewhere in life is less important now than it's been in the past. And it doesn't mean you can't do it, but it feels like North Node in the fourth, putting community first, putting you being in a place where you belong and with people you trust first. That's what I feel for Sagittarius. Okay, going on now to Capricorns. Sagittarius, let me know if that resonated, and feel free to check out the lunar eclipse video. It's still relevant. And Capricorns, what do we got here? We got the solar eclipse in the fourth house of home, belonging, emotional foundations. So for some, this is a 6-month cycle where we're focusing on how we feel and wanting to feel good in our own skin and honoring the things that make us feel that way. For others, you might be actually focusing on changes to your home, making your home how you want it, moving. Especially, I do see moving as a potential for Capricorns. Why? Because we have all this activity in the third house of your neighborhood and local environment. So maybe some Capricorns are coming home. Maybe some are creating your home to be more of what you wanted and overcoming challenges with neighbors or with roommates or with siblings even possibly. But then that lead to some kind of resolution or some good thing or some enjoyment of some kind of peace and agreement. Okay, so that's like the overall gist of it. With Mars in the 7th, squaring planets in the 4th during the eclipse. And I'm going to back this up a day and see. Yeah, this is better. This is technically the eclipse is at 8 degrees of Aries. Okay, so it happens at around 3 a.m. Pacific time on the 29th. All right, so back to Capricorns, back to what's happening here. That 7th house, okay. So, some of you might be dealing with a more rambunctious partner. If you are in a relationship, Capricorn, especially if you're married, your partner just might be more Marsy. And that means they're probably going to fight with you or bicker with you, or maybe they're working out. Maybe they're just challenging you, right? Because Mars also represents challenge, and it could be you guys are working out together or something like that. But it does feel there's something to be worked out here between what you want, your values, what makes you comfortable, or what your spouse wants for those who are married or in a long-term relationship. Okay, but for those who are single, let's say, maybe this is a little bit more like it could be fill-in partner with others. Okay, that's the best way to do the 7th house. Others are fighting with you. Who are the others? Depends on what your life is like. Right? If all you do is work, it's your coworkers. If you have one-on-one clients, it's your clients. If you have a bunch of close friends, it's one of them or all of them. That maybe there's some need to shift or change between the things you want to start doing and the things your friends want you to do. And it's there's a way to work it out though. There's a way to work it out between you and others. And it could be for some Capricorns, this could be your parents versus your spouse where they're not seeing eye to eye. But if they just try, it really is this metaphor of for married Capricorns that your spouse is staying at your parents' house and your parents is staying at your house. And neither one of them have their normal stuff. But if they just talk to each other, they can figure it out, right? Because the spouse knows where everything is. Maybe the parents don't want that stuff, right? But like the point is here that these two areas of life, relationships and either family of origin or deeper self or home, there's some tension. There's some things we got to work through in the next 6 months. That's okay. The goal here is belonging. Okay, it's belonging. Maybe your spouse doesn't feel like they belong in your family. Maybe your family feels the same way. Maybe maybe you're not married and it's your friends are not feeling like I don't know, maybe there's a disconnect between certain friends and your home or your next steps in your home. Maybe you had a house where everyone was hanging out and now you're going to move and your friends are like, where are we going to play pool? Like any possibility here between those tensions. So just don't like think it's the end of the world. This next 6 months for Capricorn can be about focusing on where you belong and dealing with the little challenges and the hiccups that are kind of in the way of this. That is what I feel. Okay. There's a sense of belonging here for Capricorns and a feeling of like, this is my place where I feel settled. And for some, it's going to be about getting your house that way. Some it's about getting your inner house that way. Okay. Either way, we're trying to be ourselves here. We're trying to be our authentic selves here. We're trying to take the next step toward our authenticity. So because it's in the 4th house, it's opposite the 10th house. The 10th house is us being like, what will people think of us? How do we get respect? How are we being recognized? So sometimes 4th house stuff will highlight the letting go of those things, right? So some Capricorns might be letting go of what other people think and being willing to have someone else criticize them. Like, I want to eat this way. And everyone's like, no, don't eat carnivore. And you're like, fuck you, I'm eating carnivore. Or whatever that next step is for you as a Capricorn that represents you being true to your own self. Okay? Okay. Also, with Mars, Saturn, we're all possibly taking on more challenging goals, but it's like we also have support in overcoming the challenges. It's like the runner in the hurdle, but with 7th house, 3rd house being the connection here, the 3rd house is like your local environment, your neighbors, your siblings, the act of writing. It can also be communicating what you know. And then Mars in the 7th is like, maybe we have some communication. Maybe we're learning the art of nonviolent communication. Maybe we're learning how to listen better. Maybe we have very clear blocks of time for ourselves that we want to really honor. Because just like I was talking about this with someone else, but it's like, you can not feel like I could not feel like showing up for this video today, but by committing to this block of time and showing up anyway, it's like, the magic happens. The magic doesn't happen if you don't show up. And so that Saturn, Venus, North Node, Neptune thing in the 3rd can be that experience for you in whatever area of life it relates, where you're like, you can just by committing to showing up to something that's important to you. You can create the space for the magic to happen. The magic doesn't happen if you don't show up. That's my message for Capricorn. With Pluto in the 2nd, there may be some things changing financially or a desire for that. And with Jupiter in the 6th, you can also find that maybe there's some kind of support or some kind of positive influence. Maybe a sibling or someone in your neighborhood helps you accomplish something. Maybe you guys put in a driveway together or something. It does feel like there is potential support here from the 3rd house to the 6th house, which is like your neighbor or your sibling or an aunt, uncle, or cousin helping you do some chores or get things done. Okay, so that's what I have for Capricorns. And again, feel free to check out the lunar eclipse video as well, which is still going to be relevant. Okay, we're going to our Aquariuses. And for Aquarius, we have the solar eclipse happening in your 3rd house. That 3rd house of communicating what you know. The 3rd house is a very embodied house. It really does represent a lot of our own personal time and how we spend it. So when you're in the 3rd house, when you have a solar eclipse, creating new beginnings in the 3rd house, sure, maybe some Aquariuses are coming back from overseas. Maybe some have moved somewhere new and now they are creating the connections in their local environment. They're figuring out what store they're going to buy their like sea salt at or whatever. But for the majority of Aquariuses, this can also be about communicating what you know and having a time in life where that is becoming important. It can also be a time where you're busier. Why? Because the third house is like our time and how we spend it and the things we're doing, the places we're going, the grocery store we're shopping at, the place we pick up takeout, or the places that we stop by to do whatever it is you do on your regular, in your what you spend your time doing, wherever you go on a bike ride or whatever it is that your heart does in your neighborhood. It's that stuff. Now, Mars in the 6th makes you usually busy. And having it be a square to the eclipse, some Aquariuses just might have a time in life where it's like you're busier than you can't do all the things. You can't take the kids to soccer and do all the other things you want to do. So it's just like you're squeezing more into your time. It could just be a busy time. Some of you could be making more money. We got Saturn in the 2nd house, or working harder, working longer to make money. With Saturn in the 2nd, Mars in the 6th, some Aquariuses, it'll just be that. It doesn't have to, but it might be just a season of life where more sacrifice is required to make the same amount of money, or maybe you make less money. Sometimes when Saturn goes through your 2nd, you actually volunteer to make less money. So maybe for some Aquariuses, why? Well, because you hated your job and now you're happier, or maybe because you hired some employees or something and now you have to put money into that. And it's like, it's the growing the business, investing in the business makes you busier and makes it more of a, you'll have that temporary slowdown or that temporary challenge for some hopeful, positive outcome. That sacrifice energy that we do see with Mars Saturn. You might have to fight for something related to work or employment or money right now during this 6 months. It might be a time where there is more to be done to like get yourself into a better position. Maybe you just have a job right now that is like, yeah, this is a season we need you to work overtime. And so you're just working overtime. That's okay. But it can also be, Mars in the 6th can also be you sharpening your skills or working on self-development and filling your time with things that make you a better person, or you feel like are going to help you improve, especially with communication or written skills. But also, sometimes third house stuff really is we're just learning. We're spending time learning things. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the big gist of it that I see for Aquarius is new courses, new beginnings, new things you're learning, new things you're spending your time doing, community involvement potentially, or even, sometimes really third house stuff can actually be the people in your immediate environment. I know no one says that, but it's true. You can be busier seeing people and having fun. Jupiter in the 5th. Dating or going out and doing things that you find enjoyable, playing games, Jupiter and Gemini, camping, Jupiter and Gemini, getting camping gear, going to REI, or, figuring out how to do a strategy on some game you play, or something else like this, where it's stimulating the mind and getting more into the community based on something you want to learn or understand, going to a shop that sells games or something. Yeah, what else here? Gambling can be a thing here for some Aquariuses because the 5th house rules that. So it's like you're going to enjoy gambling, and that's going to get you talking to more people and going to more places and spending more time doing that. It could be that. Not everyone is going to relate to that. Overall, my Aquariuses are going to be focused on the next 6 months on the local environment and what you want to initiate, start, or do within that environment. Maybe some of you are taking classes, teaching classes, going to your local tarot shops or your crystal stores or your Whole Foods or, other places. But there's something that is like being started here, right? There's a fresh new energy here around this. But also the challenge is like, how do I fit all these things into this time? And that might be the issue, is having to cut out certain things and exchange them for other things. Okay, so that's what I have for Aquariuses. And last but not least, we have Pisces. All right, so for Pisces, what we have on this solar eclipse in Aries is our money, 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 money. It's new beginnings when it comes to finances. So with Saturn still in that first house, right? Since March of 2023, Pisces have been making sacrifices. Pisces have been doing more things they don't want to do to step up for some goal, to achieve something, to accomplish something, because because more responsibility got placed on your shoulders back in March of 2023, or you placed it on your own shoulders and decided, I got to do more here. I got to try harder. I got to be better. I need to step up and be better in this way, whatever that way is. It could be anything. So what we have now is potential, especially if you're a Pisces who like has your own business. There's a potential that you could be launching something in the next 6 months that is to make more money, something. It could be that simple. If you are working at a job, maybe you are trying to get a raise, or there's something going on where there's just a focus on money. Focus on money could be you make the same amount of money, but you're going to be more protective on how you spend it. Maybe some of you, and I mean, I hate to say this, but maybe some of you are spending too much on entertainment or fast food or things you enjoy that are comforts. And maybe this 6-month cycle is one where there's a need to adjust there. Maybe there's a need to adjust with how much you're spending. For others, maybe it's the other way around, where you actually are not letting yourself spend on things you enjoy, or you need to invest in your creativity. And so the challenge is coming up with it and like figuring out how to come up with the money so you can invest in something that maybe will make you more money, or maybe is just something that's valuable to your life. With Mars, trining Saturn in the first and Mars in the fifth, it feels like money can influence your image, your how you express yourself. And maybe Saturn here is about, it's almost like your eyes are bigger than your stomach. It's almost like maybe some Pisces have desires that are beyond what you can do, right? Maybe you've got champagne habits on a beer salary, Pisces, and you're figuring out, do I slowly save the money for these things? How do I slowly create a life where I can afford the things that I want, or I can go on the vacations I want to go on, or I can wear the clothes I want to wear, and it doesn't feel like the solution is going to come like bam overnight. It feels like the next 6 months will be this kind of slow burn to slowly, gradually working within the limits you have to express yourself in a new way, find a new form of self-expression, which Venus is helping with. Venus, Neptune in the first, in this eclipse does speak to a time where maybe some Pisces are creating a new visual aesthetic look for yourself, a new vibe. And maybe it's like Saturn here means you can only buy one piece of clothes at a time, or you can only, dye your hair yourself, or something like that, where the process is a little bit slower. But it could also not be that. It could be that Pisces is going, okay, I need to make more money. What look do I need to have do it? I have these financial goals I want to focus on. I have these things in life I want to be able to pay for that are going to be fun and enjoyable and represent who I am as a person. And how do I need to look, think, and act? What do I need to sacrifice now? What can I give up now that's going to get me to that place long term? And where do I need to focus my creative life force energy in order to have that kind of either new image or the higher level of income, or overcome certain financial challenges? And for some Pisces, maybe some of the solar eclipse in Aries in that second house will be about the things you already have and the things that you already own, contributing, finding how those things you already have and own can contribute to the self-expression you want to have, to the fifth house is fun. How are you using your money to enjoy your life? Is it working or not working? This could go both ways. It could actually be both of these things, Pisces, where on one hand, you're like, okay, I've been spending too much money on this stuff that I don't even like because it's a habit or something. And then I'm not spending enough on these things that are meaningful to me, that matter, that make my life happy, right? So it could be like Pisces is working hard and saving up for a vacation. Pisces is going to start some new thing or approach money in a new way, whether that be make more of it in a new way, or whether that be save what you have in a new way. And that there is maybe an adjustment from how you have focused on money in the past to what you want to do moving forward. Some might be investing your money into entertainment or into fun or into experiences that make you feel good about yourself. And with Venus, Neptune in the first, there's no way I can get away from some of this being about how you look, how your look affects your identity. And with Venus, Neptune, wanting to look good, wanting to look hot, wanting to look beautiful, wanting to look handsome, and just feeling that desire to step up and maybe have a glow up. Maybe some Pisces are wanting to have a glow up, but maybe others are more like spending money on a gym membership. And then that is going to be, it actually feels like there's this sort of symbiotic relationship here between like Pisces investing their money on stuff that maybe makes them feel comfortable and good about themselves, but then also then getting that positive feedback loop and creating a new identity. It really feels like the next 6 months, Pisces could be like, I want to have a glow up. And then they just do their hair differently and change everything about how they look and like learn their best colors and really like, not just for the sake of looking a certain way, but for the sake of changing your identity to someone you want to be more, who you want to be more like. And it doesn't feel bad. I mean, it feels good. It feels like maybe something happens for Pisces that is like getting you to a place where you can really focus on, what are my values? And am I living my life by my values? And what needs to change if I'm not? And then how can I spend my money or invest my time and energy into things that are enjoyable so that are going to like trickle back to myself, right? So there's that like pleasure can be good or bad, right? It's like a little bit of pleasure is necessary, but too much is hedonism, right? So it's like, to me, this is about investing your time, energy, money, even your possessions into things that are pleasing to you, that are going to give you life force energy, not take it away, right? Because there's stuff that we do that we spend our time on that we feel worse afterwards. It's fun, right? Fun things that you're like, oh, I overdid it. But then there's also fun things we can do like that are life-giving to us, that like working out or like meditating or like what else, like going for bike rides and shit, that it's like going to the park where it's fun but it's also nourishing to our soul. And if we did it a lot, it still wouldn't necessarily be destructive. Okay, so I think the next 6 months for Pisces are going to be about finances, but then also about where are we putting our life force energy and putting it into things that are constructive so we can be our best selves and magnetically allure into our lives with that Venus, Neptune in the first, the people and the things and the passion that we want. Having Venus trine Mars from the 5th to the 1st does make me feel like Pisces might have some passion, some fun, some magnetic experiences, some pleasure involved in the next 6 months. So I love seeing that for you guys because, Saturn has been there kind of bringing things a little bit to a more serious level, right? Saturn will bring shit to a serious level. It doesn't have to destroy everything, but it tends to make things a little bit heavier. So I think this Venus Mars trine might actually help Pisces quite a bit in the pleasure side of life, which I don't know. I just feel like you guys might need that a little bit. So we're going to stop there. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope all of you watching enjoyed this video. I want to say thank you to everyone who joins live, who supports the channel in any way. And also don't forget to get 50% off your reading. 50% off readings now through March 29th in honor of eclipse season. Let's connect during this in between time with our innermost selves, our innermost feelings, and, do that through astrology, right? Whether you want to look at how you tick, how you operate through the lens of astrology and understand yourself at a deeper level so you can be the best person you can be. Because when you know your patterns and you know your strengths and weaknesses, you move through the world differently. Or if you want to know what's happening now, how the energy is affecting you and how to work best with it, there's a lot of changes in the planets in the next year. So we all need to know this so we can be ready. And just so you're not scared, right? Because I know a lot of you guys will get scared when, I don't know, when like a planet is changing signs, you think I do this too. We think it's going to like hurt us. And sometimes that planet changing signs is actually going to give you a lot of relief. It's going to be good for you, but you just don't know that. So take the time, especially if you're one of those people, to book a reading so I can help you so you're not worried about something that's actually probably going to be good anyway. Okay? So if you want to book a reading right now, you can do that using the link below. And I will see you, beautiful souls, in the next